Yo, what's going on? So, today is January 1st. Today is also day one of our 30-day chess challenge. I've never really played chess. Growing up as a kid, I always chose checkers or I'd rather play pinball. But I think it's finally time to teach myself and learn how to play chess. So, over these next 30 days, I'm going to be spending a lot of time just learning the game of chess before I even really start playing. I don't even know exactly how all the pieces move, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. And after that, we're just gonna go ahead and get into some games and hopefully we get some wins early off. So, yeah, got day one. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so we got day two, and yesterday we didn't win any matches whatsoever. I think the only match we were able to beat was against the computer, which I don't really want to count that. So I think my record is like 0-2, 0-3. I did a lot of practicing. I think I know how the pieces move pretty well now. And so we're just gonna go ahead and maybe jump into some more games today, try to get some more practice and figure it out. So wish me luck. Hell yeah. That's how we do it. Day two, first win. Let's do it. Let's go. Fuck, dude, I lost. Yes. Oh, I thought I was gonna lose that to the time. Good game, good game. Alright, so this is how the game started. And really, I thought that was interesting how he allowed me to just take his pawns at the very beginning. There wasn't much trades going on. Just my queen was really going through a lot of their pieces. I think I did make a mistake there, and I allowed his bishop to take one of mine. And then his queen did put me in check a few times. I did take their bishop and their queen. I would have been in check there, so I had to give up one of my knights. And then right there, their bishop took my castle, which kind of sucked. I'm trying not to allow him to take my queen, while also trying to figure out how I can put him in check. And I'm really running out of time here. As you see, I have less than 5 seconds now. I'm thinking I'm gonna lose, so I'm just trying to make quick plays, quick, fast plays. Somehow, I ended up winning with 1 second left. That's day 3. It's a good win. First game today, by the way. So let's go ahead. Hopefully we can keep this up. Game number 2 ended in a stalemate. Yes. Good game. Alright, that was game number 3. And we are 2 wins, no losses, and 1 tie. Well, a stalemate. Alright, we got day 4. Let's go ahead and get it. Okay, so we won due to him running out of time. I'll take it. Alright, so we ended up winning 2 of our 3 games yesterday. Hopefully we can go for 3 straight today. Wish us luck. We got day 7.
Hell yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie, we lost a few games, but that's okay because that last game was amazing.
Okay, here's the rundown of how the last game went. See how I took their queen? I think that move right there was a real game changer. As with using my queen to take their rook, followed by the knight, completing the game, making checkmate.
Alright, we got day 8.
Alright, so we have yet another interesting game. Mostly just with the start. I haven't seen many players start off with that move with the pawn to g3. Then another really weird move, which I think he blundered his pawn not once, but twice, as well as his rook and another pawn. Then he puts me in check, once again blundering another bishop as he moves his queen. He does take our bishop, putting us into check, but it seems to have not much, except for he does take a pawn and puts me in check. And I can tell when he activated his rook, he's trying to set up a play to trap me, putting me in check with his queen, and then once again. And so I'm trying to figure out how can his rook set me up, and they put me in check. I make a move, puts me in check again. I can take his rook. I don't. I move my pawn once again. His rook then takes one of my pawns and blunders his rook. Moves his queen, puts me in check again. I get out of it, puts me in check once more, and once again, pretty easy escape. Then he moves his knight, which I then blunder his knight. And at that point, he moves his bishop, and I'm thinking, what can he do to try and trap my king again? So I move my pawn to h6. As he prevents that move, I take one of his pawns, and he gives up, giving us the win. Honestly, this was a very long, interesting game. At some point, I even blundered my own queen, which he never took advantage of. Due to the fact that he did not take advantage of it, I made sure that he could not do it again. He challenged me straight up, queen for queen. I didn't want to make the trade. He honestly kept checkmating me, or he kept putting me in check quite a few times. But eventually, we did come out on the upper hand. We have our fastest game yet. So I started off pawn to d4. He matches me, and I move my knight c3. Once again, he matches me, and then I move my queen to d3. Once again, he matches me. I move my knight to b5. He moves his knight to b4, so I take his queen and put his king in check. And due to that, he did end up quitting the match, making this our fastest match ever. Okay, we have yet another game. Don't make fun of me. Whole lot of blundering going on. So far, so good. And right there, I gave up my queen. Probably should have just moved my queen, but I didn't even see that was a play with their knight. At this point, I'm just thinking maybe I should give up. But then he plays this odd move, which gives me a real opportunity to get a queen, bringing us right back into the game. Also giving us checkmate. Alright, just gonna go ahead and go over this game really fast. And really, the end is the most enjoyable. So right here, I do kind of blunder a piece, making it into a queen. I have no idea how to trap this king whatsoever. And I don't know what I could do. Just trying, losing pieces. Like, just not good. Ends in a draw.
Alright, we got day 14.
Usually I don't like to resign games, but sometimes I just do. This game, however, I did not. As we start, very typical normal game, and then their queen kind of gets in and he does a few things. As I'm still winning, it turns into a different game. And it's just my king versus a lot of their pawns. And right there, he accidentally gave his queen up. I'm pretty sure he didn't mean to do that, but that allowed me to take most of his pawns. And then from then on, it was just kind of a, how can we stall? And that's how we turned into a draw. Alright, we have yet another interesting game here. So I thought just the start was pretty interesting. Did, however, get baited. Lost my queen early, blundered it. So instead of just giving up, I decided, let's just keep it pushing. White has a clear advantage until she blunders her queen. Not too sure if she meant to do that or not. After that, I'm just looking for any trade possible. I believe right here, I should have taken their knight with my pawn Instead, I did it and I moved my king, not noticing that their knight could put me in check. Once again, they blundered their rook. Then, running out of time, giving us the win. Here we go, we got another game. And starts off pretty normal. Right there I did give up my queen to their knight. However, they did also take our bait of our bishop, which we then took with our knight, evening up the game. Then I was able to take their rook after they moved their king. Really have the edge here as I'm up 10, but losing my rook to their rook. Now I'm only up 2. And somehow he manages to make the game very, very close. I'm trying to get one of my pawns to become a queen, while also taking his pawns. Then I just slowly trap their king, putting him in checkmate. Day 17. Alright, once again, we had a really, really good game. We didn't take anyone's piece for quite a while, but once we did, we were up pretty big. And at that point, I decided to start trading pieces. However, I ran out of time, and due to that, it was a tie. We got yet another crazy game. So we just start off. I castle pretty early. The opponent really starts to make some mistakes. But right here is what was really crazy. So I have 2 queens. And I managed to put myself in a stalemate. Alright. This is a pretty long game right here. Really though. One side dominant. It was good practice, trapping the king. I thought this was another pretty interesting game. I didn't like how right there I had basically moved my knight and had to move it back. But then he decides he wants to press forward, so I take his pawn. He moves his queen. I move my queen in position to protect my knight. I don't really know what he's doing here with his bishop, but he does blunder it. And then he uses his knight to put pressure on my queen. I end up just moving, and then once again loses another pawn, pushes my queen. I just take back, put his queen in a bad spot. Didn't really notice that I couldn't really do anything there, so I did blunder pawn, and then he had another pawn. I just traded with him, and then he ended up taking my rook and blunders his queen really badly there. And then he decides to take my knight, which then I take his bishop, and from there he quit. And then after this game, I got an award for playing 100 matches. Alright, we have yet another good game. Starts off pretty basic. And right there, he did exchange queens. And then my knight went on a small rampage. And then we just started trading pieces back and forth up until the end, when things kind of just got a bit out of hand. I was really trying to push that pawn up the middle to gain my queen, using the rook to defend it. Then after that, it was as simple as trapping the king, making checkmate. Alright, I just played Martin, which is level 250. He is a computer, and honestly I was doing really, really well. And then he checkmated me. Alright, we gave him a rematch, and this time we did a lot better. Still, we blundered 2 pieces. After 4 attempts, we finally have a decent game against the level 400 computer. We went 3 back-to-back stalemates up until this game. And finally, we put the level 400 computer into checkmate. Alright, we have yet another game against Aaron, the level 700 computer. Honestly, I don't feel like these computers are leveled correctly. However, that is checkmate. Honestly, I feel like these computers are very under-leveled. The computer does snipe my queen, however, he just freely gives up his own, which is one of the reasons why I feel that the levels for the computers just aren't very true. However, we do end up walking not 1, but 2 pawns up, then checkmating Mar, the computer level 1000. We've hit another game against the level 1100 computer, and I believe he whips me about 5 times in a row before I was able to make a pretty good game myself. And this time he was unable to take my queen. The last few games he was definitely able to do that quite easily. This time we were able to actually even bring in another pawn, making checkmate. Alright, we have a good game right here. So, starts off really interesting how he moves both of his knights to start, and then he tries to basically bait my queen to take his queen, and then he's going to use his knight to take my queen. Doesn't work. End up kind of trading a bit. He does go on a bit of a rampage with his knight, but right here I put his king and his queen both under pressure, so that's when he decided just to resign. Alright, we had honestly pretty bad game. So it starts off, pretty average. Right there I did blunder my queen, and I was really just deciding, do I want to quit? No, not a quitter. So I play the game out, and he just blunders his queen. I don't know if he just didn't see it or why he even moved up. Anyways, so I take his queen and then his knight, and from there I'm just really okay with trading pawns and trading pieces in general. Just trying to get my rooks out there to play, and then he resigns at this point. Alright, I ain't even gonna lie, I blundered my knight not just once but twice, and on the second time he took. Throughout this game I really did not have a good playing at all. The whole time, really, I was just down, and at one point I was like, man, let's just stall, like that would work, and maybe he'll run out of time, because he was taking a long time to think. And then he started moving other pieces around, and I was like, okay, I cannot wait any longer, I gotta do something. And I checkmated him. We got yet another game. Honestly, the way it started out, I thought I was going to lose. But doesn't that always happen? So right here, I'm really deciding if I take, their pawn's going to take back. And I don't really have any sort of defense. So I move my queen. Obviously, he takes my knight. I'm trying to bait his queen into taking my bishop. Doesn't work, obviously. So then I move my queen again. I'm offering a trade of queens. He doesn't take it. I take his rook. He moves his other bishop, which really does nothing. I take a pawn. He moves a pawn. I take a pawn. He moves the queen, puts me in check, doesn't realize that my knight can take him out, and then he resigned. Man, I really wanted to record the last game, but I accidentally exited out, so we're just going to have to settle for this one. But this is also an interesting game, so start off and take a pawn with my queen and another pawn, and he takes my queen, so we traded. And then I figured, hey, may as well get some more value with my knight, and I took their bishop with my knight, giving up my knight. Right here, though, see, I thought he was going to move his rook to cover his pawn. He doesn't, so I just freely take that, move right back. He moves his king again, doesn't really do much. I'm trying to make another move on this corner pawn, take that. And then right here, I accidentally blundered my bishop. He doesn't even notice. I notice. I'm like, man, I messed up. Doesn't take it, so I move back. And now if he moves that rook, I'm going to take it. I don't care. He does, though. So I take the rook. And, the king takes my bishop. All good. I'll keep trading pieces if that's how it's going to go. So from here, I'm thinking, how can I go and tackle this pawn on the far left? And he actually just freely gives up a pawn. I'm like, okay, so I take it. He takes mine. I'm like, no way, dude. And then he just freely keeps on giving up pieces. And so I give him a question mark. I'm like, yo, dude, what are you doing? And I thought, once again, the rook is going to cover the pawn. Nope. Just continues to give up pieces until he resigns. Alright, for our last game today, honestly, I don't know what happened, but he gave up his queen early, and I was okay with trading as long as it was something like a bishop for a rook or a knight for a bishop. I really came ahead in this game fast, and I just walked this pawn up, got 2 queens. I kind of trapped him. He only had 1 space to go, and then he just kind of let the time run out on him and ending the game. Alright, we got another game here, and it starts off pretty normal. I use my my knight, and I do end up taking a piece, and then his bishop ends up taking my knight, which I kind of did mess up there. He tries to put pressure on my queen with the bishop. I just move over, then he takes a bishop, and then I take theirs, and we trade queens. He moves in his knight trying to go for my rook. Doesn't work. I end up taking his knight. Then he just resigns. We have another game. Once again, starts off pretty normally. I do, however, move my bishop to start the match, which then I kind of blunder it, but I do trade, and then he also takes my other knight with his other bishop. So now we're down pawns. From here, I'm just trying to basically work back, and I'm able to. And now I'm just letting the queen go to work. As long as she's not under much real pressure, I'm just going to go ahead and keep taking pieces. And now the knight is trading pieces, and we trade knights. Then he moves his queen across the board. I'm trying to figure out how I can take his pieces without losing my queen. Right there, he does blunder his queen. And then he gives up a pawn. And now we're just trading pawns. And here I'm trying to activate my bishop, while also giving up my bishop for a rook. He's not taking the bait. Now I'm just using my other pawns to kind of move around their king. And right there, put him in checkmate. Alright, we got yet another game. We're just going to go ahead and speed through this one. Not too much happening. Just a lot of trades really in the beginning. Just right there, takes my knight with his bishop, and then I take his bishop. Right there, he does go on a bit of a streak with his knight taking my rook. And then I take... And right there, he does give up a rook to my king. And then I do give up my rook to his queen after taking his second rook. And right here, I'm just trying to kind of move around his pieces and not allow him to play the offensive. But I do trade queens right there, and then he just runs out of time. Alright, we have yet another quick game here. And I do start by moving my bishop, and I trade pawns, and then he moves his queen and blunders it, and then takes my rook. I take his bishop, and he blundered 2 pieces there, and just kind of abandoned the game. We have another game, and just like yesterday, we're moving that bishop, and then now we're progressing knights, and we take bishop for knight, and then up here we do take yet another rook, this time for bishop. and we're just kind of moving pawns around, not trying to lose the queen, while also putting their king in a bad spot. But his knight does end up taking my rook right there, which that kind of sucks. And then he puts me in check with his rook, and then he's trying to use the bishop, but then I use my rook to take his piece, and then also taking his knight, and then my queen takes his bishop right there. And this game is going definitely pretty fast, but if you can keep up, right here we do put him in checkmate. We got another game going right here, and this time we're just going to go ahead and try to progress the knights. We do take a piece with our knight, and right there we trade bishop for knight. I always like to think that's a pretty decent trade, and we take up another pawn and he abandons the game. Right. Got a really interesting game here. He activates his queen really early with not much of a move, so put pressure on the queen, decides to move to the other side. Now I'm trying to just use my knights. Pulls his knight. I pull my queen out just in case. And then right here, I'm going for the rook while protecting my knight with my queen. He moves his king, which is a very odd move, but understandable, such as if he didn't, he would be then giving up his knight. So he moves his knight. I move my knight. He moves his bishop, and there's no move there for him. So he just blunders his bishop, ending the game and resignation. Alright, he just gave me the GGs, and I'll give him the GG back. Yeah, he quit. Awesome. Good game, boys. This game starts off pretty normally, and tries to put pressure on my knight, on both knights. And basically I'm just allowing him to try to take my knights. I'll trade a knight for a bishop. And then I activate my queen, and this is when I really just start to go to work. My knight takes a rook, and then their bishop takes my knight. And then right here I do blunder my queen. But then I do end up getting the piece back, but that definitely hurt a lot. And like I've said before, I don't like to quit. And right there, I didn't want to trade bishops because I knew he was going to just use his queen to take it. And then right there, I put both their king and their queen in check. So he has to move his king, giving up his queen, which then he takes my knight, which is just fine with me. That really evened out the game back to what it really was. And right there, I don't know why he didn't want to take my pawn, so I happily take his. And so I'm thinking here, like, man, what can I do to try to make him want to take my pawn while I take another piece of his? So right there, he once again doesn't take my pawn, and I figure, why take the pawn? I'll just take the knight. He moves his rook and still doesn't take the pawn. So I take another piece. He takes a pawn. I'm moving over to take one of their pawns. He still doesn't take it, which is very interesting. And he tries to attack my bishop on the left. And he does. And so I just trade him bishops, which that's fine, especially with the lead I have. And then, I don't know. I'm just like, take my rook. And he doesn't. And put his king in check. I was hoping maybe he would try to give up his rook again, and he still doesn't. He definitely knows that if he loses his rook, he loses the game. But that right there was a huge blunder. I'm not too sure exactly what he was going for. And then right here, we just take another rook, and now he's left with just the king. So we just kind of walk a pawn up, trap him, and now we have a queen right here, and he just abandons the game. All right, so we got another game, and this one I did blunder my knight really early, but from then on I did try to trap the queen, which she ended up just going directly back. And then they moved around their knight. I put their king in check, and right here I moved back, and then he moves his piece up, which basically just means I can put the king back in check. And then he moves his knight, and right here I should have used my bishop to take his knight, and the king wouldn't have been able to take my bishop. But instead I moved my queen back, take a piece, take another piece, and they quit the game and abandoned. We have a pretty awful game on our hands, I'm not even gonna lie. So right here we do trade queens. I'm not too upset about that. And then I do trade a knight for bishop, which once again, not too upset about that. But once we get in here, I believe I do start to blunder pieces accidentally. And right there we just kept going back and forth. So I wasn't, yeah, right there, just blundered my bishop. And then blundered my knight. So just a real awful game. But after that, we didn't really blunder many more pieces. We were just kind of trading and setting up opportunity. And it just wasn't really going our way. But as you can see, this guy's playing pretty decent game. But he does run out of time. Right there, he spends a whole minute and a half. Just doesn't move, and we take the win. Yo, the fact that I even won this game just doesn't cease to amaze me. Right there, just blunder my queen. Nothing but the best start, man. From there, we took a knight. They took a knight, we took a knight. They took our knight with their queen. Just walking pieces, trading pieces, losing pieces. It's just a theme with us, huh? And right there, we do take another knight, and we do take their queen, so it's actually a pretty decent game. We do give up our rook for it. I'm okay with that. Right there, we just move out of check, and right here I should have just not moved my king, because I don't think he noticed my bishop there on the bottom left, but I did. He took anyways, so that was weird. Anyways, took a rook. It's really, really good game still. Like, could go both ways, definitely. Just trying to find a good play, and I'm really just messing up right there. He literally had that right there. Could have took it, and he finally does. But I do take his rook, so I guess it was a fair trade. Once again, puts my king in check. I just bring my bishop down, he takes, I take. Once another fair trade. And then right here, I'm like, man, I gotta start taking his pawns. So we start trading. And right there. So I should have taken his pawn on a3, and I didn't. And because of that, he was able to get a queen. And right here, I was like, man, I really messed up. So we're just kind of trying to play it. And I was hoping to take his other pawn so we could make another queen. He didn't take it, and then I try to cover this queen, and he ends up taking my other pawn. So I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen here. Trying to bait his queen. Doesn't really work very well, puts me in check. I'm like, okay, he's definitely walking that pawn. And I didn't go to the correct spot. And right there, you can see their bishop can definitely take my bishop right now. Doesn't. I take his bishop. He takes my pawn. I have literally one chance left. And right here, he should take my my bishop. And he has 6 seconds left, and he doesn't. And I take his bishop, or I take his queen, and he runs out of time, giving us the win. Alright, so this first game I played against my homeboy Emilio, and I ended it in a stalemate. And the second one I played against my homie DeMarco, and he definitely beat me.
Alright, this completes our 30-day chess challenge, and honestly, it was not that much fun. I hate losing, and I'm very competitive, and when I was just getting in so many different stalemates, it wasn't enjoyable. Just like the brain power it takes to play and all the strategy, it's just not really fun for me. So chess is okay. I'd maybe play it once every couple weeks, every few weeks, but like definitely not something I would enjoy every single day. But that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.